Good morning, friends. I am about to wash dishes quickly. Yesterday was our snowstorm, so we got quite a bit of snow. It's probably like 3 feet of snow, which is pretty impressive. Thankfully, I don't have anywhere to go this week, so happy about that. I also, I'm gonna go out in a little bit to shovel the snow. I'm about to wash my dishes now though, and just fed my cat. And I cleaned my bathroom as a pre-workout for doing this snow to get my heart pumping and ready to go. So I didn't just shock her this morning by shoveling all the snow. Fortunately, one of my neighbors shoveled like the walkway in front of my house. I just have to like shovel the path in front of my house so the mailman can come. And I think I have a package coming today too, so I just want that area to be clear. Thinking past Brittany because she bought ice melt last fall and she has it on hand and she's going to use it today. Although it's still supposed to be pretty cold, so I don't even know if it's going to help right now, but at least I had it or have it to put down. I am feeling really, really good this morning. I feel rested. I got a lot of good sleep last night. I don't remember what time I went to bed, honestly. I know that I was probably asleep or falling asleep by 10 o'clock. But y'all, I was showered with nighttime pajamas on. I say nighttime pajamas because depending on the day, when I wake up, I take a shower and put on a fresh set of pajamas. So like those are my daytime pajamas, and then I might switch to a warmer or a cooler pair in the evening, depending on like what the temperature is like in the house. Or sometimes my daytime pajamas will be like my super warm pair. So anyway, I had showered, put my nighttime pajamas on, and was cozy, was watching some TV, and just kind of drifted off to sleep. And that was how I wanted it. After having a yummy dinner. This week is going to be a big week for me. I'm getting laid off from my job this week, tomorrow actually. So I found out last week that I was going to be let go essentially. And I'm not surprised. This is kind of like a natural break in my employment. As far as like one of the projects that I was supporting lost funding, so I wasn't surprised. I'm actually happy it didn't happen sooner, and that kind of helped me get my ducks in a row and just kind of prepare for this. So financially I feel okay, and I feel like I'm in a position to be able to do some consulting if I want, or take a little bit of time off, which is what I plan to do. I mean, it's forced time off, but it's like, it feels like a divine sabbatical. A lot of people that I've been talking to, like, I gotta give it up to my friends because they have been so supportive and just like wanting to know what they can do and trying to connect me to places and trying to put me in touch with recruiters at their job and people they know who might be able to help me figure this all out. And I really appreciate that. I think I have been so overwhelmed by this job. I have been overwhelmed by this job. I know that for sure because it's just been stressful. I had to take medical leave last summer for burnout, and that was not enough. You know, it was like toward the end of the time when I really started to feel like, okay, my nervous system has had a chance to like reset and catch up with where my body is. And then it was time to go back to work. And so after that, I was like, this was perfect. I really enjoy having time off. It was great. I don't want to return. I wanted another 6-month long break. I mean, I didn't have a 6-month long break, but I started calling that into my life. So fast forward to now, I'm actually going to have some time off. And I want to be very strategic about how I spend this time. Like, sure, I'll need to at some point figure out how to bring some income in. But I also don't want to jump right back into a full-time gig because I've been trying to pivot away from this 9-to-5 structure and also pivot away from my industry, the industry that I've been in for like the past decade, which I have not been happy with. It's just very volatile and I just want something different. You know, I'm ready for something different, and this feels like the universe telling me it's time for something different. The way I'm feeling about it is kind of like I was on the edge of a cliff, and the only way to safety was for me to jump off the cliff, but I was too afraid to jump. And so I turned behind me, and it's just like all types of scary things, like a battle, and they're running towards me with their swords pointed at me, and I was too afraid to jump. And I feel like I was divinely led to leap. Well, not leap myself. A hand came down and pushed me off, and that was some sort of divine intervention getting me to safety. And that's what this feels like for me, because this was just not a position that I loved. I made it work, as I do most things when it comes to like my professional life. I made it work. I wasn't the happiest in this role. This was definitely one of those positions where I did not feel appreciated. I felt underutilized, and my voice didn't matter. And I say that because I know that it didn't, because I am a direct communicator at work. I'm pretty open about how I feel. I'm pretty open about like things that need to be done to improve my work, to improve the quality of work of the people that I work with, to support the organization. And everything that I had shared for the past like 2 years had fallen on deaf ears. So I knew pretty early on that I was not valued, and I was ready to go. But I knew it had to be in the right time, in the right way. And this feels like the right way. Like, I do not need to be in this industry anymore, and I feel more confident about building my own stability than being in that area and having to deal with the volatility and the insecurity of just not knowing what is what, and if things are going to change, if somebody's going to come and pull our funding and this and that. It was just too much. So I'm viewing this as divine redirection, which I was, like I said, already sort of laying the foundation for and ordering those steps in my life. So this was really good. This has been good news for me. Although it's not happening on my time. I didn't really know what my time was. I just knew that this year I was not going to be working at the same place come December 2026. I knew that for sure. So yeah, I was hoping that by my birthday in April, I would be able to be somewhere else or be doing something else and not at this place. So that's going to happen now. So I'm feeling like a lot of prayers have been answered in this organizational decision, and I'm honestly leaving on good terms, which is great for me. Not that I really care. I really don't care, but I guess that's good. They don't know I wanted to leave as badly as I wanted to, or maybe they did. Who cares? Doesn't matter now. I'm out. I feel good about it. Last week when I got the news, I had an adrenaline spike, and how was I feeling? I found out on Wednesday that on Thursday I was going to be having this conversation with human resources. And on Wednesday, I felt like I had to do a lot of self-soothing during the conversation. But when I tell you, self-mastery has been something that I have really prioritized in 2025, and it showed up hard in that conversation last week. I was able to like soothe myself in the moment and not react. And I was so proud of myself because I have literally fantasized about this moment. I have fantasized about either quitting this job or being laid off, because I knew that was also going to be a possibility, just like with the state of the world and everything, of this country and of the state of my industry and what has been happening in my region. And so I fantasized about this. I had been thinking about this and how I would react, and like in my fantasies I was a lot more emotional, and it was kind of like me telling them how I felt about things in a very raw way. And when I was given the heads up that this was coming, I think the person delivering the news was a lot more stressed out than I was, and I was proud of that. I was proud to just kind of sit back. And like, they couldn't see that I had I'm washing dishes. They couldn't see that I had my hands like, wrapped around the inside of my shirt and, hugging my abdomen. But that's like one of the tools that I have been able to acquire from all of my years of therapy. So I know how to like soothe myself in these stressful moments. And so I'm sitting there listening to them saying they're eliminating my role. Here are my options. And I'm not really reacting. I'm just listening. I'm just being present, and I'm able to control my emotions because I know how to do that. And I'm soothing myself while this news is coming out. So at the end of that call, the person was like, thank you so much for like react in this way, because they were I could tell that that person was like very on edge, and it kind of sucked that they made the person who did it deliver that news, but it is what it is. So that happened. Thursday came and went. Like, I was already pretty much aware. I think the thing that surprised me was like I had to ask for so many follow-ups, which further let me know that this was a good decision for me. And it's just like, if you're terminating somebody's employment for non-performance based issues, you need to have all of your ducks in a row as the employer. Like, at the end of the conversation, you as the employer should be in a position to say, I'll send you a write-up recapping all of the things that were discussed, and, you know, give you documents so that you can make an informed decision. That didn't happen. I had to request all of the things that should have been offered to me, which further let me know that this is just not the place I need to be. You know, like, I can create a well-functioning operation on my own, because most of the time I'm having to guide way too much. Some things employees shouldn't have to ask for. Like, if you're terminating somebody, you should be prepared with a follow-up email. I should receive that email almost as soon as I get off that call with all of the details of my layoff or my options, right? Like, what are you doing? That was another sort of like check off of my box. Like, yeah, this is divine intervention. I don't need to be here anymore. Like, I have to do all of the follow-up, and that's just like crazy. It's just insane to me that was how that played out. Wednesday, Thursday, I was kind of feeling on a high. Like, I felt so excited about the opportunity to like do something else. And earlier in the week, I had participated in a virtual conference, and the virtual conference is directly connected to a course that I just signed up for. You know, it was definitely an investment, and I'm glad I paid for it when I did, because if I had waited, I wouldn't have paid for the class after I got laid off. Like, after I got the news that I was being laid off, because I would have been too nervous to spend the money. But I spent the money the week before I got the news, and I bought the course, and it'll go for like the rest of the year. And I'm so excited because it feels like it's going to tie everything together for me. Stuff I studied in college, to like my plant stuff, to like all the things that I'm truly interested in and have really wanted to figure out, how can I earn income from like the stuff that I talk about on my channel. But like, even beyond that, like, sure, it would be nice. My channel is not monetized yet, so that would be great. If you want to help me with that, just watch my videos. I need to get my watch hours up and share them and encourage people to like watch my content. That would be really helpful. Thank you in advance for that. But beyond that, I don't want to just have to rely on like my YouTube channel, you know what I mean? Or just one thing. I want to be able to create something larger, and I felt that I have just been lacking the connection. I was really happy to find this class, because I feel like it's just going to tie so many things in for me, or tie so many things up for me, and then I'll be able to be more clear-minded about what my offerings are. Because I definitely know I want to be able to like offer something out into the world. I just need help getting all of these ideas out of my head and like into a way that makes sense, into a package or something, a good or a service or something like that. So that's coming. I'm really excited about that. All of that to say, on Monday was the first day of this virtual conference, and I was so inspired. I watched all day. It was like a webinar based, or it was like a virtual conference, so you can like submit questions through Zoom and stuff like that. I watched this conference, and I was just like so inspired, and speaker after speaker after speaker, they were just speaking my language, and I felt like, wow, all of these people are sharing aspects of their journey. It was not a linear road for them, and they've arrived at this point, and they're sharing their whole background. And a lot of the background that I was hearing from the speakers was very much aligned with like my background, and just how I'm arriving at this point now of wanting to pivot careers, and then finding this class accidentally, because I wasn't even supposed to find this class. I mean, I was, because I found it. And even how I found the class was so synchronistic. Like, somebody had sent me an email for something totally different and linked the wrong thing. So when I went to click on the link, it took me to the course description for the class that I registered for. That was not the intent of the email. And then the person followed up like, oh, sorry, I sent the wrong link. By that time, I had already registered for the class. And so I'm like, wow, that was not intentional, but that was meant for me, because that is my next step. That is where I'm supposed to be. So I did that the week before Then that Monday, I participate in that conference. I'm so blown away. I'm so inspired. I'm feeling really confident about my decision to like enroll in this course. And then on Wednesday, I get the news that my employment is about to be terminated. It all just kind of feels like it's lining up. So that's why I don't feel worried. I don't feel the same level of worry. And like, granted, I don't have any dependents, so that makes, other than my cat, so that makes life a lot easier, and that gives me the flexibility to like not be worried about finances in the same way that I would probably be worried about finances if I had kids to take care of. You know, like I can figure it out on my own. I done learned enough from the gig economy people that I will figure it out, and I know I'm good. I'm provided for. I'm taken care of, and I can take care of myself. And like I said, like I've kind of been planning for this. Yeah, it just kind of feels like everything that I have journaled about, everything that I have prayed for, all of the list that I have made of like, this is what I want to achieve in my life when it's the right time, those things are starting to happen. And I do credit my ability to like regulate my nervous system with that a lot, because I think that in being in this state of receptivity and just knowing that everything is working out in my favor, and that that's the message, right? Everything is working out in my favor for my highest and greatest good, even when it doesn't appear that that's what's happening. Like, you might look at a job loss or a layoff and say like, well, that's not in your highest and greatest good, but it is though. You know, for me it is, because I've been praying for this. In all of my prayers and all of my journaling over the past like 6 months to a year, it has been like, please God, help me get out of this job. Please God, help me figure out what my next steps are. Please get me out of this job, set me up financially so that I can be free to leave this job whenever the time is right to do so. And so I'm thankful that this has arrived at this moment, because it's happening right before my class starts, which means that I can be fully engaged in my class and fully immersed in the content and like truly, you know, participate in office hours. And like, I know I'll have group projects, and I just feel so relieved to not have the burden of this job that I really did not enjoy looming over my head. And like, that just, I don't know, being in a job that you hate, and hate is such a strong word, and I use it cautiously, but we're gonna say it, right? For being in a job that you hate, it kind of drains you. It makes everything in your life a chore, because like, I have to go to this job, I have to rely on health insurance and bills and all of this stuff, which I do. You know, like I'm not independently wealthy, so I rely on a job for these things. But I also have been cultivating a life for myself over the last like 2 years, I would say, like seriously over the last 2 years, where I'm prioritizing peace. I'm prioritizing healthy relationships, healthy dynamics, healthy situations, like peace. If it does not bring peace in my life, I have, this is a prayer, y'all. I want you to get that. I have prayed for it to be swiftly removed from my life. And that is what's happening. And the funny thing is, I was talking to one of my friends recently who's like really deeply immersed in like astrology and all of the stuff. And I was telling her about the layoff, and she experienced a layoff recently and was just providing some encouraging words. And like, she was telling me about the timing of all of this. Or we were talking about just like how synchronistic it felt, just based on the things that I was doing prior, like the seeds that I was planting. And now it feels like some of those seeds that I planted a year ago, the harvest is coming up for me, right? In the form of the layoff, in the form of my new class about to start, and me being able to be fully present and engaged in that, because I won't have to go to work. I won't have to deal with the, you know, workplace personalities I've had to deal with for the past several years. The end of January is like, how did she say this? So like, February starts Chinese New Year, right? Or Chinese New Year begins in February. For a couple of weeks, I think. I don't know how long it lasts, like the celebration. I don't know how long it lasts. But Chinese New Year is coming up in February. And each zodiacal year in the Chinese calendar, I don't know if I'm saying this stuff right. So if you're like deeply immersed in like Chinese astrology and I'm getting it wrong, just kind of leave me a comment or something to correct me. That's fine. But 2026 is the year of the fire horse, which means that things are supposed to like take off quickly, because what do horses do? They run fast. What does fire do? It spreads quickly. So it's like it's a year of like rapid change, very, very quick change. Whereas 2025, and again, this is the Chinese lunar cycle, or Chinese calendar, I don't know. It's ending right as the new year starts, right? So it's ending around this time at the end of January when you're watching this, if you're watching it when I'm posting it. So 2025 in Chinese astrology was the year of the wood snake, I believe. And what do snakes do? They shed their skin, y'all. Snakes shed their skin. So this major thing is being shed from my life, is being removed from my life. I am shedding the skin of working at that place, right? Right as we're about to go into the year of the fire horse. So that feels like a really good omen to me. Like I heard that and I was like, oh, this is some divine intervention. Like that's what this is. And I believe that so firmly, which is why I've been able to feel so calm and at peace about this, because the things that I have written, the things that I have prayed for are happening. So if this getting me out of this job is happening, and I know that the next thing that I've prayed for is soon to follow, you know. So that's how I'm coping with things right now, is just seeing this as the blessing that it is and what I have truly called into my life, and like entering a space of self-worth that I've never had before. Because y'all, they gave me two options and it almost felt like the offer was so insulting to me. That was more insulting than the layoff itself, right? I would prefer that you just tell me like, oh, there's no longer a need for your role because funding was pulled and blah, blah, blah. So your last day is going to be this date. So I think this is like also the start of me valuing myself in a way that I have never done in the past. This is like the biggest example of me being able to show how much I value myself. Like to show myself that I fully understand my self-worth. You know, like I'm not gonna just accept your crumbs and that be enough. Like, no, I'm worth so much more. I'm worthy of having so much more. And you can't tell me otherwise, because I know it to be true for myself. Because I've prayed for things and they've happened in front of me. Because I prayed to be removed from this job and I received the opportunity to leave. Bye. So yeah, I'm excited about this. I've been, like I said, I really got to give it up to my friends, because I shared the information with my mom and she felt, I think just kind of based on how she was talking, like just as excited to see what's next for me as I'm feeling. I talked to some friends and they were all kind of like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but I know how much you didn't like being there. So yeah, I guess there is a silver lining. Because the way I presented it was like, yeah, you know, I'm being laid off from my job, but I'm also like, is it weird that I feel excited about it? And they're like, well, no, you hated it. So it's not weird. And one of my friends was like, you know, she was really encouraging me to just like take time to figure out what's next. Like, don't be so quick to jump into a new position that's just like the one that I left and didn't enjoy, because it's just the same, right? I've been in so many roles where I'm like, ugh, I hate it here. And what I'm hating is like the structure. What I'm hating is not having the flexibility. What I'm hating is the volatility. And I was talking to another friend about this, and they were sharing that they had, you know, also gone through a layoff recently, because a lot of people are being laid off in my industry. She was sharing that she didn't realize how much her job was a part of her identity, and how it took her a while to sort of deal with that and get over it, and like how she really grieved that position because she valued her work so much. And it was important work. Like the work that she was doing was very important. The work I was doing was important too, but it wasn't my identity. I've never had a job where I felt like this is my identity, you know. And I know some people do, like people who really give themselves to their positions, people who are in like social work, stuff like social work. I could never do social work. It's just so mentally and emotionally draining that you got to really love it. And I know the burnout in that industry is real, because you're helping people in real time and you got your own stuff to deal with as a human who's trying to function in life. And then you got your clients that you're supporting who usually are dealing with some very dire circumstances that you're having to help them figure out. Couldn't do it. Couldn't be me. People in the medical field, right? Like doctors and nurses and like those industries where you're really giving yourself, you're really exhausting yourself, you are putting strain on your body and your mind, and like you hold people's lives in your hand, right? Like no job should be giving me the type of burnout I was having, and I'm pushing papers. Like that was my job, right? I'm sending emails, I'm organizing events and stuff. I shouldn't be so burnt out to the point I didn't have no patient die on me. You know what I mean? Like I get it. If you a doctor, if you a nurse, you have people's lives in your hand. If you're dealing with little kids being harmed or whatever, like you got people's lives in your hand, right? You doing international development, you have people's lives in your hand. I didn't have nobody's life in my hand. I didn't have nobody's life in my hand, and I just felt like the level of stress I'm feeling from this position right now is not commensurate with the work that I'm doing. It's just not. And so this is where I get back to myself and I say that I'm not tolerating that level of stress for a job that is not, it should not be stressful. I'm just not doing it. And so while I can empathize with the people who have lost their jobs and they truly were shaken by it, because I'm not just talking about finances. Like, of course, anybody who loses their job is going to impact their finances, right? Most of us are working for a check. Most of us are working to pay our bills, right? That's not what I mean. I'm talking about the root of the work. If you're fortunate enough to be in a role where you truly find value in the work and you are making a difference in the world and you're doing all of these great things, I think that's very admirable. I wasn't in that type of space though. That's not the type of work that I was doing. I want to enter into that type of space, but I want to do it on my terms. And my version of what that looks like is not cookie cutter. I don't have an example to look to, which is why I think I have been in this rut of trying to figure out what's next for me, and why I have now literally needed to be pushed off that cliff for God to tell me, like, just figure it out. Like, you know what to do. And that's kind of how I felt it's going in my life right now. And yeah, so all that to say, I'm about to go shovel the snow. My dishes are washed. Actually, I just washed them. I need to rinse them off. So I'm not quite done washing the dishes. I need to rinse them. I just didn't want the water to interfere with the sound on the video. I'm doing okay though, y'all. I'm going to be posting a lot more. I think part of this pivot is going to be me being able to show up more authentically. Not that I wasn't showing up authentically with my plant content. There was just, I did feel like I was censoring myself because there's more that I want to talk about. And like Brittany's plant is like my core, right? We always gonna have plants over here. We always gonna have, there's always gonna be a space for us to talk about plants, for me to tell you about my adventures, you know, with my plants, with my gardening, what I'm getting at the farmer's market. But I've also wanted to turn it up a notch and talk more about just me as a person, and especially right now where I'm entering this new chapter in my life and I'm documenting so much of it. Like I filmed a version of this where I'm kind of telling y'all this, but it was way too personal, and I think I'm going to keep that for just my personal records too, because that is another thing that if you're not doing it already, I highly encourage you to document your life. You don't have to post it, you know, it could be video, it could be voice notes or whatever, or voice memos, it could be just you journaling it and writing it down. But this has been really helpful for me because I have been able to look back in my journals from the past couple years and see all the places where I said, dear God, take me out of this job. And I can now see that prayer is being fulfilled. And so I had a whole lot of other stuff I wrote out to be fulfilled as well. So I'm excited to see how that's going to come into fruition. But yeah, I just want to share more of myself in a more authentic way without the concern of like, oh, well, I can't talk about this on the internet. What if my job sees it? What if my job sees me talking about my mental health online, or like my journey in therapy, or like my self-mastery, how I've been able to achieve self-mastery by just learning myself and knowing how to operate in under certain circumstances that might seem very dire, you know, knowing how to get myself out of hard situations and knowing how to function even when there's chaos around me. I want to talk about that kind of stuff openly because I think it's helpful for me to just sort of recap the things that I've done to reach this level of contentment but also I think it could be helpful for other people as well, just to hear some of the techniques and things that I've done to better myself. So I'm excited to go on that journey with y'all. I hope y'all will stick around. Again, if you watched this video to the end, thank you so much for helping me get these watch hours up, y'all. That's the goal. And I appreciate you so much for being here. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel for more content like this, for more plant content, for more chatty videos. We're about to get deep over here, y'all, and I really want you to stick around for the journey. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.